Hey everybody, welcome into Urban Meyer's Pint House. This is Weekend Kickoff. It is brought to you, as always, by Bryant Heating and Cooling Systems. It's Ohio State and Oregon, Saturday noon. This is the one we've really been waiting for. Bobby wasn't even excited for the opener. He was just looking ahead to week 2. It's Cardale Jones, Zach Boren, Bobby Carpenter, Robert Landers, Evan Spencer. I'm just Austin Ward trying to get us through this show. What do we think? Cardale, before you left, I'll just start it right here. You predicted a 14-point Ohio State win in week 1.
Yes.
You didn't say it on camera, but you made me write it down.
Yes, I did.
You got that right. So I guess it didn't surprise you what happened last week.
No, not at all, because we knew the type of guys that we had, especially coming out the backfield. Was it a shocker who was the starting running back, guys?
Meatball?
Pork
Was
chop?
it a shocker?
Meatball.
Yeah, you kept that a great secret.
Yeah, I kept it a good secret. Throw you guys off.
Who's starting this week?
I can't tell you guys.
You're going to keep these all a secret, huh?
Yeah, but we'll see this week, man. Last week is over. Clearly, this is a game we've all been looking forward to. Oregon, I think, a more quality opponent, and Buckeyes got some room to improve, and I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, I think almost the coaches were thinking that way too, right? You saw the opener. I don't know, and I know our great friends here at Lettermen Row, Austin Ward, you wrote about it, how many players actually played in that opening game, and I don't think you've ever seen that. And
24 guys on defense.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And I think these coaches knew going into this game that athletically Minnesota couldn't stay on the field with them, so they were going to let a lot of guys play, see who could kind of handle some adversity as they were game planning and scheming for this Oregon game already.
Yeah. Well, I'd say against that, in the receiver room alone, the one thing that I found interesting was the fact that we saw a lot of number 2 and number 5, and not too many of the young guys, right? I think much of that can be backed by the fact that we got to get CJ chemistry going, we got to get him feeling comfortable, and things like that. And I think that exploring the depth of that room will be something that we go into in Oregon and other games in the future. But a slight shocker, as it just relates to that. But I mean, at the end of the day, we got 2 of the best in the country, and it was evident last week, I guess, at this point.
Yeah, just a slight one, Bob. Just
slight shocker, not the full throttle there. So, I think the receiver room, like you said,
Who is this guy?
it's really kind of 3 guys. The lead 3 dogs. You mentioned obviously Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, and Jackson Smith and Jigba. And then defensively, though, it was way different. So it's very position specific on who they're rotating, or even running backs. I started charting. I'm like, all right, Maya Williams, Travion Henderson, Master Teague, Marcus Crowley. I'm like, we're going to get anybody else in here? Like, we're really working through it all. That's not something that you typically see. So I think that Ryan probably talks about it. The coordinators talk about it. Hey, within each room, figure out the guys that you want. Try to get them a rhythm. Yeah. And I think they'll hone down a little bit this week. But part of it is, too, they have a lot of young guys that they really like. And I think part of it is, like, let's see what they can do on the field. And I know you don't necessarily want to have an experiment, but usually that first game you're able to do that. Now, this was a little bit different, and I think that they were trying to kind of straddle that line to, hey, we're playing a Big Ten opponent at night on the road Thursday night, big-time deal. But we also want to see some of these young guys, if what we're seeing in practice translates into the games.
There's an interesting dynamic. Hold on, Zach. I'll get right back to you. When you talk about the offensive guys, Evan, I just want to get the stat in there because it goes to both of what you guys both talked about, that the receivers got – it was concentrated on those top 3. Well, the offense played 48 plays. Didn't have the opportunity to rotate nearly as much other than at running back, which was by design. And what you're talking about, Zach, Minnesota holding the ball for 40 minutes, you probably needed more guys to rotate in than you normally would, even if you wanted to experiment.
Well, I think Evan made a great point, is that C.J. Stroud, the quarterback, needs to get familiar with these guys in game reps, whereas in defense, you're just going out there and playing defense, right? You need to be able to see everything in front of you and read and react. I also think, though, they played those guys, to Bobby's point, too. This week, you're going to see a tighter-knit group. You're going to see a very minimal rotation on defense, and I think offense, you're going to see those same wide receivers. And with the running backs, you're only going to see, in my mind, Mayan Williams and Travion Henderson, knowing that, hey, we got to win this game this week. And you look at Tulsa and Akron the week after, 2 weeks after, hey, we can get some of these young guys to play. So I think it was kind of the experiment in week 1, seeing how do these guys react, knowing that the offense can beat our bad defense the way we're playing.
I think one thing you got to kind of account for, too, is especially going later on down the road, you got to get these young guys to get that experience now, because last year you don't have fans in the stands. having fans in the stands play a big part
Right.
in just the game day atmosphere. You know what I mean? So even for some of the young guys that are that freshmen that just got there, and some of the red shirt freshmen that played a little bit last year and kind of got to see the field, you experiencing the actual game day is a big difference when those lights come on. You got the fans in the crowd yelling at you, calling you out your name, all kind of things like that. So I felt like for me, it was a good thing that they rotated the way that they did. So now a lot of these guys going later on down the road know what to expect going into a hostile environment outside of the ship.
It was so great to be back in any stadium that had fans in it, that had the band, that had the cheerleaders. It was phenomenal.
Yeah.
It was almost like you could just forget about 2020 and the real stuff was back. And then
The real stuff was back.
The real stuff was back. Like,
That's right.
This was the real
Uncut.
the real thing, baby.
Uncut.
Bringing it to you unfiltered.
raw, real, and in person. And then that just made me think when it was over, all right, well, that was 50,000 people in the rain in Minneapolis. Saturday in the Horseshoe.
80 degrees, sunshine. Bob's going to be there sunbathing.
Blue Aviators.
Oh, yeah.
It's funny
Killing.
that we talk about, how things are to where they used to be as far as not playing with any fans and things like that last year. Our good buddy down south, Luke Fickle, he was stressing this week to a few of his younger players who were freshmen last year who played a significant amount of time for Cincinnati, and it wasn't many distractions because you didn't have that normal atmosphere.
Sure.
And this week coming up, I think they got Indiana, and then they got
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame.
Bye week than Notre Dame.
Yeah, so a few things that he's been stressing about is the different element of college football as not just going on the road, playing in a hostile environment, a really good team, but just everything that consists of a great atmosphere when it comes to playing at a stadium like Notre Dame and Indiana and the ones they're going to continue to play in.
Yeah.
And he said he's worried about that for his young players who were younger last year. Their first time college experience was playing in a stadium with 14 people.
JV game.
Exactly.
Yeah, but
exactly. He's like they're great players, but that
Saturday
added element of now, the backs against the rope because they're screaming at you and things like that, trying to get the communication. He's worried about
You're
that.
talking about on the road, though, but we're not even bringing up the fact that some of these guys that are playing on Saturday have never even seen a full shoe.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Cody Simon said that, yeah.
Right? Because of no visit and whatnot.
Yeah.
You've got Travion Henderson. You've got some of these Denzel Burke. You've got some of these guys that are actually going to be playing on Saturday that have never seen a horseshoe live.
Yeah.
And so we talked about, the fans in the stands, the communication, it being a JV game. And you're playing out there on Saturday mornings in the state of Ohio, and it's just your parents and maybe your girlfriend, if she really cares about you, watching you. And you line up in the wrong spot. Your coach can literally pull the headset and just yell,
And
get over here, 5-yard split, not this, this, and this. And so offensively, you're at home, so it's not a big deal. Defensively, if they make mistakes, and it's loud on third down, you're not going to be able to just Kerry Combs can't pull that thing back and just scream out on the field. No, switch, play this, play that.
I mean, he'll try.
He'll try.
We'll try.
And
Clearly.
Kerry will yell as loud as he can, which is loud.
Yeah.
So
But
coffee, drink.
he doesn't have the juice to be able to communicate. So you have a lot of young guys. Legend Cavazos, you're talking about, oh my goodness, my guy.
Rock.
Who?
I mean, shoot.
Yeah.
Taraji Mitchell.
Denzel
He
Burke.
isn't as-
Denzel Burke, DB out there. These guys are young. They're going to get overwhelmed a little bit. That's just the reality. You play through it, but lining up, they're going to get locked in and not hear a shift, not hear a check, and the coach just can't yell it. And all of a sudden, you may have got. It's like, hey, where'd he go? Where'd who go? And you're looking around.
No, I mean, that's a good point, though. I mean, because there's both ends of that spectrum, right? You can come in and you can be, hey, I haven't been and done this before, but you can also be too emotional. Right? You can be too far on the edge and start making mistakes that way. So
But you lock in so much. I'm going to do this. You're so juiced. And they made a check, and you're still doing what you did at the beginning because you turned it all out.
And that's the experience that you can't replicate in practice, right? And heck, we weren't able to replicate it in an entire class of kids last year. Right. So not to say that we're not going to be prepared or ready for it, but you just have to think about these things going in and be like, all right, how do I prepare myself best to respond when I need to?
It's so much easier when the fans are yelling while you're on defense and when the fans are yelling when you're on offense, right? I've been on both sides. When you got the home crowd behind you on defense, it's a lot easier to communicate than being on offense like Wisconsin or somewhere like that, right?
But when they motion and things, and this isn't like your classic Oregon team where they're running a play every 15 seconds and doing crazy stuff. But guys motion, and you go from being in a man-to-man situation to another guy entering the mix, someone popping out of a closet, and now you've got some people joining in. you got to talk like, hey, are we locking this? Or are we going to banjo where we play guys out as they pop away? And you try to figure that out. And it's not easy. And so if one guy's doing one thing and one guy's doing another, well.
I can tell that Zach wants to just straighten this out right now. You got the defensive guy saying it's hard for them. Cardale's over there.
No.
Zach never covered anybody. Zach would auto-trigger every pass. How do you think he got that sack on Devin Gardner? They didn't even know he was coming. There was no defense where he was supposed to rush.
Like that, Zach.
Listen,
I watched him.
Defense all hand signals, baby. That's it. You just Hey, I'd look back at Christian Bryant. I just, we're good. That's it.
Whatever works. It's going to be great to have those fans in the Horseshoe. Just a reminder to all football fans that whatever temperatures this season will bring, U.S. Heating and Air Conditioning, your local factory-authorized Bryant dealer, will make sure your AC can beat the heat. Whether you need a quick fix or a whole new energy-efficient Bryant cooling system, they'll do whatever it takes to make sure you stay cool and comfortable. Call U.S. Heating and Air today for an appointment or find them online at usheating.com. Bryant and U.S. Heating and Air doing whatever it takes. They are presenting the weekend kickoff show to you this week here at Urban's, and they're doing whatever it takes. Who did whatever it takes for you guys last week at Minnesota? Cardale, you can talk about the quarterbacks if you want, but we know you like to go first so that your guy doesn't get taken.
Come back to me. Come back to me. Because that's a great question.
Whatever it takes, the player of the game. Who did you have, Zach?
You know what? I have never said this before, and this is going to be a shocker to you guys.
Let's go. Another shocker.
I'm going to go the offensive line.
Woo!
And yes, they only ran 48 plays. But my gosh, C.J. Stroud had all the time in the world. You saw the running backs who can actually run the ball.
Yes.
Have a lot of success with the carries that they had. The offensive line played phenomenal. And that's how, going on the road, week one, your offensive line is strong. You're able to run the football and give a young quarterback protection. That's all you can ask for.
Yeah, no doubt.
I mean, I'm going to go with a linebacker. Shocking. Guy that, Austin, I like to take credit for helping to bring him into the fold.
No, tell me about Cody Simon.
Cody Simon says, getting it done out there, triggering like Zach, just, hey, I'm going to get the quarterback. And that was important, like, stave off momentum. If they would have went down and scored again before half, now you're just not down one score, you're down two scores. Young player, came in last year, probably should have played more if it wasn't for such a crazy scenario, but they love what he can do. I'm excited. I think he's going to probably earn some more playing time, and that's how I think the linebacker room, DB room, and running back room was like, hey, it's an open audition. How you play today is going to determine how much you play next week.
Yep. Were you concerned? Hold on, Bob. You kept saying Haskell to Rascal all offseason. And then Gus Johnson drops it, and they make a T-shirt out the next week. Do you think he stole that from Weekend Kickoff and Lettermen Live and you? Like,
I do
you been
know
getting
this.
a cut of this?
Well, I do know this. Joel and Gus, they do prepare by watching Lettermen Live.
Yeah.
Like they weekend kickoff everything that we do. They lock in on it to make sure that they can get all the up-to-date information, the inside scoop, if you will.
He even name dropped Cardale Jones on Thursday
Cardale works
night.
on the dialect every week.
Gus Johnson,
Cardale Jones. Gus is my guy. Me and Gus go way back.
He was trying to get them to put you in the game. Gus definitely had the over on number of quarterbacks being played because he was off of C.J. Stroud.
So quick.
Mike McCord, Jack Miller, get up in there. Hey, where's that kid with the mullet? Put him in. Anybody, get him in there.
Yeah.
This is not an Ohio State quarterback. Get him in. Cardale Jones, where's he at? Get him in there.
Boy, and somehow he threw for 4 touchdowns in the second half. So
Somehow.
It's a great when that's a bad day.
Well, for me, mine's easy, and I'm going in my own room, right? Chris Olave, whatever it takes. But think about it, right? Like, at the end of the day, we were throwing a lot of screens, and we were throwing a lot of get comfortable quarterback routes. And when we had the chance to throw some 3-level routes, we had the chance to push the ball down the field and let these guys run. That's a decision to not go out of bounds. And, obviously the first one, he, had a little jump and made it in. But the second one literally is my decision. My job is to figure out a way to put points on this board for my team because we need chunk plays now. So it's my job to go do that. So I give that to Chris. Garrett had a great game too, but Chris takes it from me.
Chris, I look like my kid's trying to tackle me in the backyard. Stop. Oh, coming back in.
He's got that TP speed, though. He really doesn't look like he's running, but he just walks from everybody.
I got 2. I'm going to go with Haskell and, surprisingly, Zach Harrison. I feel like the entire game, they really dominated up front. Pass plays, they pushed the pocket, caged the pocket. Zach did a great job coming off of the edge, play after play, even when if he didn't make a play. If you actually watched him work his skill set, work his technique, and he was constantly pressuring the quarterback. And then, of course, Haskell, holding it down at the 3-tech spot, play in and play out. I feel like the two of them up front really dominated, in my personal opinion, which allowed our defense to kind of thrive as a whole, even on the back end.
How are they different than 2 years ago?
Body by Marati. Beef.
More experienced.
I'll say this. But 2 years ago, we got a lot more experience. If you really look at it, the only guy on that D-line right now that has true game experience and big-time experience is Haskell. You know what I mean? So day in and day out, practice in and practice out, he has to constantly be that one guy that's kind of got to drive the truck every single day, every single rep, every team period, every indie period. And I think for me personally, I feel like he's doing a great job at that, because you see a lot of young guys. No, not a lot of them stood out tremendously, but a lot of those young guys really held their own and did their job, and they got plenty of room for improvement. But you don't see a lot of young guys that can actually step into the roles that they stepped into and play at the level that they played, especially for a game one in a hostile environment.
How have they changed? Well, Haskell got shot in the face, so that's real.
Zach Harrison started talking.
I might have
Zach did start speaking. Probably put on like 30 pounds. So that's it. I want to know, listen, and this is a concern on the defense. We've got a lot of guys who are really great, high-quality humans, and they go after guys that are high-quality humans. We need a couple dogs out there. I played with a few dudes who it wouldn't surprise me if when we went somewhere, they had some sort of concealed weapon on them.
Oh, you mean the guy who used to host the show with us last year?
Yeah, there are some dudes that they might hit you with the shank. They got a little dog in them. There are dudes that wouldn't be afraid to stab another human.
You're going back to the Coastal Carolina press
conference.
Yes, I
want some dogs. Not cats.
Not cats.
I think Coach Myers' Florida days done rubbed off on you. This ain't the Florida team.
I'm serious. You need to. Hey,
this
you
ain't
don't need too many of them, but you need at least one or two dudes. Hey, a man over here,
Too many would definitely do you wrong.
You gonna bail him out?
I mean, I played with guys who've been arrested with firearms and weapons.
How many of them did you bail out?
Thankfully, none of them got. Well, one of them did, but he got out of it. So.
Before we get too far,
Schlegs would stab a human.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Boy, got off the rails early. Cardale, did you have a whatever it takes player for us?
My whatever it takes is I'm going to go with the D-line as far as when it came to the pass game, though. Not all overall, but those 9 guys, I want to say they rotated. Trust and believe when Minnesota got in a situation where they had to throw that ball, those guys came after them, and that ended up in one of the touchdowns for the D-line. So I'm going to go with the D-line as a pass rush unit.
I'll tell you what, Lathan Ransom, it didn't surprise me the way that he played. And then he said he wasn't even worried about getting targeting. That was one of the more vicious legal shots that you're allowed to give out.
Right. Lathan Ransom, great elite human, high-quality guy. You talk to him, looks you in the eye, nods his head. I mean, I'm looking at more like my guys like Rico, my man Dame Arnett. Dame, I mean, he might make a bad decision every now and then, but he's also going to try and knock a dude out.
Yeah.
And maybe
because he got screws missing.
I wasn't suggesting that Lathan Ransom was going to shank a guy on the field. I was just giving him credit for the game he
early
played.
on, he's coming with the right mentality, though. So,
I mean, he makes it.
He might be a nice guy that can turn the corner. Shit, you never know.
Oh, boy. I don't know if we should do that. I think that's probably a good time for us to take a break and regroup.
The shankopotamus of the week.
Oh, my God.
We'll think about it. We probably won't. I don't know if Coors Light wants to be associated with that.
That's all Bobby's segment.
Bryant Heating and Cooling, Coors Light, Urban Meyer's Pint House. A lot more show to come. We're going to take a quick break on Weekend Kickoff here as we get ready for Ohio State and Oregon.
It takes attention to detail. With your local Bryant dealer, you're getting more than just a technician. You're getting someone who pays attention to your needs and the little things that make a big difference. It takes a dealer you can rely on. And to keep your family cool this summer,
let me show you how this works.
It takes Bryant.
Bryant. Whatever it takes.
And to keep you and your family comfortable, it takes U.S. Heating and Air. Find them at usheating.com.
All right, taking a break from the big show, Weekend Kickoff. It's brought to you by Bryant Heating and Cooling Systems. And this week's brought to you by U.S. Heating and Air. We've got Tony coming in to help us out this week. Thanks so much for sponsoring and coming to hang out with us for this show. Know that you guys are big in the community here in Columbus and the rest of Ohio, maybe. I don't know how far you guys extend the business, but it's great to have you, and tell us a little bit about what's going on there.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. Appreciate it very much. Love serving the community. We're located in Lewis Center. We service Columbus and all the surrounding communities and counties.
Yeah.
Been in business for about 48 years. and have a very loyal staff. Appreciate everyone that works with us and works for us. They work very, very hard this time of year, especially in the heating and in the cooling weather, hot, cold, attics, crawl spaces, everything. So I'm very appreciative for all the staff we have.
What do people need to know this time of year as you're getting ready? And we know eventually we got some great weather right now at the start of September. It's going to be beautiful on Saturday at noon, we hope, knock on wood. But the weather's going to change. What do people need to be aware of? What might they need to get from US there?
Yeah, right now just preventative maintenance is a key. Changing filters, making sure the furnaces are cleaned, have a carbon monoxide check done, and make sure your carbon monoxide detectors are working in your home. Safety inspection and cleaning, that's very important right now.
And then you can get that. You can check in with you guys at usheatingandair.com, right? Get that set up.
usheating.com.
usheating.com.
Yes.
I'll learn how to read my own notes here in a second. They can get that set up with you guys. And so you've got your block O on, ready for the weekend. Got the whole crew there, Ohio State fans. You got anybody that'll be cheering against the Buckeyes up in Lewis Center?
No, we don't have anybody. Love the Buckeyes, and we look forward to a great game. Oregon's a good competitor. I have very good faith that we'll come out ahead.
Well, you have to give a score prediction if you're on the show. You're gonna be the first one, actually.
Yeah, I'm going to say 41-28.
41-28.
Buckeyes.
Close, maybe a little bit closer than the experts think, as Lee Corso would say. It's Tony. It's usheating.com. I will get it right here on that second try. US Heating and Air. They'll get you all set. They'll be in Lewis Center helping that community anytime you need them.
Yes, thank you so much for the opportunity.
All right, thanks for joining us. We're back to the show. All right, welcome back to the second half of Weekend Kickoff. I can tell you right now that we are having fun on a Thursday night being back at Urban Meyer's Pint House. Just so you know, if you don't come, you can't win tickets.
I can't believe that just happened.
That was great.
I'm glad that we didn't record the whole thing, but next week and for the rest of the season, there might be some more tickets. I don't know. Come hang out. You're never going to know what Zach is going to make you do. As you can see, there are a lot of empty Coors Lights and Lettermen Row cups up here. You can piece it together if you want. We're going to move on with the show whenever Bobby Carpenter decides to rejoin us after setting up those festivities. Cardale, first, we have the Buyer's Auto question for Cardale.
Oh, let's go.
The Dale.
When you look at the start for C.J. Stroud, how do you evaluate it? What does he have to do to be better in Week 2 against Oregon?
The way I evaluate that start, I think that he went out there a little anxious, not nervous, anxious. I mean, you talk about probably the most prestige position in all of sports, the quarterback at The Ohio State University, and everyone came before him, especially a guy like Justin Fields. He's been hearing that all year. Can they replace Justin Fields? And Quinn Ewers is coming in, and the battle he had to go through with the guys on the roster now. He just wanted – I'm pretty sure he wanted to go out there and put that all to rest. And having that mindset sometimes puts you in a position where you feel like you got to do too much or more than that you're capable of. And I think that's what he started off as before, he threw the ball 4 yards and then went for a 60-yard touchdown, and he got settled into the game. And I think Coach Day and his staff did a really good job of settling him down and putting him in positions where, they showed him by the play calling and playmakers around him, you ain't got to do it all by yourself.
Right.
And I think each week he's going to realize that more and more. And that's going to help with his decision-making, and it's going to help with his confidence.
What do you think? We hinted about the weather that might have been coming before that game. He goes to warm out. Warm up. What do you think? Is he this is my debut. It's got to be on the road in the rain.
Right.
Why couldn't I get perfect conditions?
This is a kid playing at the highest level of college football at The Ohio State University. You ain't worry about no weather. You ain't worry about conditions. You got to go out there and play. You got to go out there and perform no matter what.
Got it. You guys like it?
Yeah, I like it. He even said in his post-game press conference that he was trying to do too much, and I think Ryan Day settled down. Ryan has a great way of talking to these guys and calming them down and getting his message across more so than what I think people realize. Yeah. He is a guy that in that locker room, everyone has their attention on Coach Day, respect the hell out of him, love playing for him. So you can just see CJ as, that second quarter was rough. And you could see after halftime came back, completely a different quarterback. You could tell Ryan kind of was in his ear at halftime. And, he'll be good. He was trying to do a lot.
Well, right. I mean, I get that. That's a testament to the coaches, too, man. I mean,
it's all the coaches.
To be able to tailor that offense back to something that's comfortable at a moment's notice, right? That's a skill that a great coach, that anybody will ever, Ryan Day and staff have gotten that down pat. And And it's a quality that you can obviously see, right? Let's get back to what's comfortable with him. Let's get the ball out of his hands quickly. Let's get it back into the playmakers. And you see one of those cats run down the field, and then all of a sudden, right, he's feeling a little bit more confident, taking that deep drop, sliding a little bit more confident, and then just dropping the ball in because that's what he can do. It's just, to Cardale's point, getting past that anxiety of being, all right, well, it's a little bit rainy. It's my first Big Ten game. Like, holy crap, there's a bunch of guys behind me. Like, no, let's lock in. I'm going to give you something that I know that you do well, and then we'll, kind of keep it in a little bubble from there.
Okay, what you do well, like, all right, we're throwing some bubble screens to guys that are first-round picks. They're going to get like 10, 12 yards on the side.
Well,
throw like some deep stuff to them on the sideline. And then when we really want to get crazy,
hand the ball off to a baby rhino and let him go.
You can hand it off to him, or you can throw the swing to Travion and just let him 55 yards. Or we're going to scheme it up, and we're going to get our second best, maybe 1B, 1A, like Garrett Wilson, one-on-one on the safety with no backside help, running straight downhill. I mean, no offense, like everybody at this table could have thrown that ball to Garrett Wilson. And then those it's what you need to do. So you look at the stat line, it's like, look kind of rough early on, but like, gosh, he threw for almost 300 yards, 4 touchdowns, and so you got to get that first game out of the way.
Yep.
That's all part of it. They bring it back in, and I'll say this: Ryan does as good a job as any coach I've ever been around at not panicking. And coaches say, hey, we got to keep our calm. But usually, we got to keep our calm out there. And I'm like, hey, you're the one that's freaking out, all right?
Right.
We're not freaking out. You are. And now, like, it's like you're a companion dog. Like, you're over there trying to keep the coach calm because they're worried about losing the game. Yeah. Ryan never does that. And that's something that, like, in the past, guys get ratcheted up, and that you can feel that tension because, hey, we're supposed to win this game by 21 points, and you're down by 4, and you think there's a play that'll score you 28 at one time. Yeah. Like, hey, let's just get a first down. And we get another first down, and then once we, like, score, like, okay, then we'll start talking again, as opposed to, like, just ratcheting down on your guys. Just keep doing what you're doing, and we'll be good.
6-yard out routes are some of my favorite completions in the world.
Fine. Hey, a win is a win. I'd take an ugly win over a good-looking loss any day.
I'm going to take it from this route. I give kudos to CJ just for being able to, as a young guy of his age, and this being his first year playing and starting, to actually buy in. You know what I mean? As a young guy buying in, especially to coming into a hostile environment, and you having to take on a role and fill these big shoes, and you are kind of starting off slow and you making mistake after mistake or bad read, bad pass, whatever, in the beginning, in the start of this game, for you to kind of actually say, coach tell you, listen, we're good, we're going to do X, Y, and Z, and for you to buy in and kind of bounce back, for me, shows not only his character, his maturity as a young quarterback, but the leadership qualities that he has. If he can step into those qualities and see them himself, he'll be a phenomenal quarterback going down the road.
That was a great Buyers Auto question for Cardale. Great to get the thoughts of all those Buckeyes.
Well, hold on. This really should have been the Buyers Auto question for Cardale. For a guy that didn't come to play school, would Bishop Sycamore have been the place for you?
Guys, let me tell you something right now. Let me tell you something right now.
Talking to a college grad over
Let me tell you something
You're
right
a silent
now.
investor.
Let me tell y'all something right now. I kid y'all not. I'll show y'all the text message. Bishop Sycamore, Roy Jackson, what was that? I just know him as Roy. Offered me $85,000 in April to be the offensive coordinator.
What?
Coach, you wouldn't have seen a dime of that.
Listen.
That check was about
this
to bounce.
was in April.
Yeah.
He already told me he locked down a big-time game versus IMG on ESPN.
Oh, yeah.
Here in Columbus. I got him flying up to Columbus. IMG. $85,000. I kid you guys not.
That's crazy.
Why don't you take it?
Because I told him I didn't know where I'd be at in the fall. I couldn't commit to it.
And because that's as good as my son betting you $85,000. Okay.
You're going to need to be paid in advance for that
Bishop
job.
Sycamore offered me $85,000.
That's crazy.
That's offensive coordinator.
I mean, he might.
Sorry, I had to get that in.
It's a great question, but he could have been offering you $1 million. We know exactly how much money he was going to be willing to pay.
That's crazy.
That's funny.
I love that. That's a great note. That was the Buyers Auto question for Cardale, the next offensive coordinator at Bishop Sycamore. Now we're going to get out of here. This is the main event. It's the Silver Bullets Coors Light pick segment. Narrowed it down. Cardale obviously nailed it right on the spread last week.
That's what I do.
Yeah, the score, the over-under was a little low. I think you had 31-17. That one didn't quite pan out, but we'll give you credit for hitting it on 14. I think 13 right now is the number?
No, 14
Is
and
it
a
up
half.
to 14 and a half?
Ooh. It's up to
I think
14
people
and
are
a half.
probably wising up that this game might not be
I'll
as
come.
close.
I'll come every week with the live
What?
bet. Don't worry.
We got Zach hitting us up with that. Do you want to start then with your pick on 14 and a half? What are you doing with your money?
I'm going Buckeyes, and this is the reason why. Is I look at this Ohio State offense and I look at the schedule the rest of the year, and I don't know if this Ohio State offense will ever go a game without scoring 40 points. Unless there is a torrential downpour, but we saw it last Thursday night, right? We already saw that. This offense has so many weapons, especially now that how strong this offensive line is, and with the two-headed monster that I think you're going to see moving forward, Travion Henderson and my little baby Rhino back there. This team is going to score 40. And so the Oregon offense, is good and, has some threats to this Ohio State defense, but I think it's going to be more of a 48-28 kind of game. So in my mind, 20 points covers the spread. That's where my money is.
He's taking the over and he's taking the cover. All right, we got that in the books. Cardale, you cooking it up over there? What?
I'm feeling a little bit of that. I'm going to go with 49.
Oh, yes.
21.
Okay. All right.
49-21.
Another Ohio State win. I'm very surprised. Another shocker. 2 Ohio State picks so far. Bob, what do you got?
That's been like 3 or 4 shockers.
It's the word of the day.
It really is. Yeah. And this won't be a shocker either because I'm going to be right in line with Cardale. I'm going to go 42-17. I think we get this defense cleaned up a little bit. This Oregon offense, I would not define as a potent offensive attack by any stretch. Like, they can't push the ball down the field. Minnesota had better receivers. They had a better running back. They should be able to bottle these guys up. And I think the offense will be far more efficient early in the game than what we saw against Minnesota.
I'm going 42-14 Ohio State. If you really go back and watch the Oregon game, honestly, Oregon's defense got 2 takeaways putting Oregon's offense in great field position in the first quarter. If that does not happen, they might not win that game.
Right.
I'm going to spot them 14 points because you might get a big play here and there or a fluke play here and there.
Sure.
I'm going to give them 14-42.
That's awesome. They're only scoring 21 in my opinion. I mean, I'm still not buying into their quarterback. He's going to rely on his legs a lot, and Ohio State we got athletes galore, right? I don't want to go in the 40s route because of Zach's little prelude there, right? So I'm going 52. Right, 52, what did I say, 14?
You go higher.
Or I said 21.
21 you had.
52-21. 52-21.
I'll be spending all afternoon in the Horseshoe with all those points flying around. I think the other part of that what Zach was talking about with Ohio State's offense, if you take Kayvon Thibodeau and Justin Flo off of this team, we don't know if all their cornerbacks are going to play, what any of that looks like. They'll try, but if they're banged up and you're trying to slow down Ohio State and those weapons, it's not going to work.
Good luck running on one ankle against those offensive tackles of Ohio State.
Got a little bit of a problem there. So I am going to take Ohio State this week, 55-13. I just don't think it's going to be close.
I like that.
I don't know why they're ranked in the top 15 after what happened last week.
If that's the case, just come to Sweet 28 and start drinking Coors Light at halftime, buddy.
I will have filed my story at halftime if that's the score. I can promise you that. And I will enjoy
invite,
a beautiful.
Is that an invite?
Come on up, man. I'll be there.
I'll already be close. That's why he's letting me come grab something at halftime intermission.
And that won't be a shocker.
There will be no stunner, no shocker about that. But I can't wait. I'm sure like everybody here at Urban Meyer's Pint House for Weekend Kickoff, which has been brought to you by Bryant Heating Cooling System. It's going to be an awesome weekend in Columbus, Ohio. Big-time game. Maybe it'll be closer. Maybe it'll be more fun. I think either way, we'll all enjoy it. Football will be back in the Horseshoe. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Thanks for Urban Meyer for coming in a little bit, getting the tickets from Coors Light. Cardale Jones, Zach Boren, Bobby Carpenter, Robert Landers, Evan Spencer. I am just Austin Ward. This has been Weekend Kickoff brought to you by Bryant Heating Cooling Systems. Enjoy the game this weekend. We'll see you right back here next week on Thursday night.